Picture this. Your marketing team posts a quick, catchy video of your product. It gets a few likes, then a few hundred. By morning, it has 1 million views, and you have 5,000 new orders that you have to fill in the next 24 hours. That's the dream, right? Well, for your supply chain, it's an absolute nightmare. Today, we're going to dive into how viral trends, especially on TikTok, are completely tearing up the old rulebook for supply and demand.
Take a good look at this number, $750 million. That's the projected annual revenue for a company that's been around for over 100 years, all thanks to one single product going completely viral. We're talking, of course, about Stanley, a brand once known for those rugged thermoses you'd see on construction sites. So how did a brand like that suddenly become a cultural icon? Well, that's where our story really begins.
Because that incredible success story, it came with a massive, hidden cost. It showed everyone just how fragile our modern supply chains really are when they're hit with unpredictable, explosive demand. And this brings up a critical question for any business today. How did a simple water bottle manage to create a global logistics crisis? And more importantly, how do you make sure your business isn't the next one to snap?
To really wrap your head around the problem, you first have to understand that demand from a viral TikTok trend isn't just bigger, it's a completely different animal. This isn't some gentle rise in sales, it's a flash flood that can overwhelm and wash away even the most established operations in just a matter of hours.
Just to put that number in perspective, 80 billion. That's more views than there are people on the entire planet. This is not just a hashtag anymore. It's a genuine cultural phenomenon that has totally blurred the lines between entertainment and e-commerce. It's created this new economic reality where a product's entire fate can change in an instant.
So what makes this kind of demand so incredibly different? Well, traditionally, demand was pretty predictable. It was seasonal, you could plan for it. It was like a rising tide. You could see it coming and prepare. TikTok demand is the exact opposite. It is sudden, it's chaotic, and it's completely unpredictable. It's a flash flood, showing up with zero warning and just overwhelming everything in its path.
And no company illustrates this better than Stanley. It is the perfect case study of a legacy brand that got slammed by a demand tsunami it never, ever saw coming, and how its century-old systems just buckled under all that pressure.
The story of the Quencher Tumbler is just fascinating. It launched way back in 2016 to really slow sales. By 2019, it was pretty much considered a failure, and the company even stopped restocking it. It had all the right features, but the timing just wasn't right. Then a few influencers on TikTok discovered it, and suddenly this forgotten product became a global obsession.
The impact it's had on Stanley's bottom line was just staggering. In 2019, before the craze, their revenue was respectable $73 million. By 2023, it had exploded to $750 million. That is a tenfold increase in just 4 years, and it was driven almost entirely by this one single product.
But that revenue explosion came with an explosion of problems. Their traditional just-in-time supply chain simply collapsed. They were dealing with constant, severe stockouts. Warehouses were completely overwhelmed, which led to huge fulfillment delays and, of course, customer backlash. The scarcity created a massive market for counterfeit products, and the hype got so intense that Target reportedly fired employees for buying limited edition cups for themselves. Total chaos.
Okay, but here's where the story gets really instructive. Instead of just crumbling, Stanley managed to rebuild its entire supply chain right in the middle of this storm. They turned a logistical crisis into a long-term operational advantage. So how in the world did they pull it off? Let's break down their strategy. Their first move was a huge philosophical shift. They completely abandoned the lean, just-in-time inventory model that had defined how they operated for decades. Instead, they embraced what are called buffer stocks, or safety inventory, and they rapidly expanded their partnerships with factories to dramatically increase their production capacity, just to be ready for the next wave.
Next, they got really smart about their data. They started treating social media not as just marketing noise, but as a core operational signal. They brought in AI-driven forecasting tools to monitor TikTok trends and influencer engagement in real time, which allowed them to predict demand spikes before they became totally overwhelming.
And to get around that 48-hour fulfillment trap, where a huge surge in one area creates a national bottleneck, they decentralized. By partnering up with regional fulfillment centers, they moved inventory closer to their customers. This created a much more agile and resilient network that could handle these regional spikes without the whole system collapsing.
Stanley's story really isn't just about a water bottle. It provides a blueprint for any business that's trying to survive in this new era of volatility.
So let's zoom out for a second and turn their hard-won lessons into a playbook that you can actually use. And it's not just Stanley. Experts over at Gartner have been sounding this alarm for years. What they're arguing is that in today's digital world, having an agile supply chain with incredible reaction speed, well, it's not a competitive advantage anymore. It's a baseline requirement just to survive.
So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, first, you have to integrate marketing and operations. That means shared dashboards, joint planning sessions, so your supply chain team sees a viral trend at the exact same moment your marketing team does. Second, capture downstream data. This goes way beyond just sales numbers. You need tools to analyze social sentiment and real-time inventory levels at your retailers. And finally, design for contingency. This means having backup suppliers, strategically placed buffer stock, and pre-approved action plans for when a demand spike hits, so you're reacting, not panicking.
The key capability that underpins all of this is something called demand sensing. It's basically a forecasting method that uses AI to analyze all that real-time noise from social media, sales data, even weather patterns, and it turns it into accurate short-term predictions. It's how you see the flash flood coming before it actually hits.
The ultimate takeaway from all this is pretty clear. The line between being a niche product and a global sensation is razor thin. Your brand, your product, it can be just one video away from going viral. So the question you really need to ask yourself is your supply chain ready for it?